Greetings and welcome to Enigmatic. I whine and whine. I don't even like cheese, but I'm about to get some cheese with my wine about consistency, but I haven't been on lately just because I've kind of been soul searching and kind of going through a metamorphosis. But every time you restart something is a moment to celebrate. The first step is always a big deal, right? So even if you're starting over, that can go for a lot of different things. Um, Another thing that I was told was my channel's not necessarily easy listening. So, I'm a multifaceted person like all people are, and I do realize I kind of only show one side of myself. So I'll try to add a little bit more humor, or what I consider humor, because I'm very critical about humor. So bear with me. um, and today I want to talk some shit, and it's funny because I'm not necessarily one that likes talking shit because I think that other people talk shit too much. But typically when I'm talking shit, it's talking shit about other people talking shit, and that's what we're gonna do. It's kind of like the paradox of being intolerant to intolerance. Because if you tolerate everything, then you tolerate intolerance, and so yeah, we're in an interesting bind, right? Um, but we're in a day and age where everybody wants to be bitching about some shit. And it's funny because we like bitch without having ample information to really bitch about something. We talk shit about things that we don't understand. And that includes, each other as people on a regular basis and in a multitude of ways. And, it's kind of funny. It makes me wonder, are we just like destined to be bigots? I mean, granted, sociologically, we could look at it and say that some of these behaviors are a reflection of tribalism. But what I wanted to talk about today was what appears to be generation wars. And it's nothing new. But with social media, everybody has a platform, everybody has a voice, and so you get to hear about different things a lot more. People don't just keep things between them and close friends and coworkers anymore. They share it with the whole fucking world, like I'm doing right now. So, to me, there's one thing to vent your frustrations about something. I find this person to not be a hard worker, and I find other people their age to not really be hard workers, and I find that very frustrating for me. Versus saying, "Oh, that stupid little Gen Z piece of shit, like don't know how to work. Gen Z don't know shit," and just like blaming the entire generation. And it goes both ways. You have younger generations that are vilifying older generations, and older generations that are castigating other generations. And to me, like everybody just needs to shut the fuck up because everybody's off base, in my opinion. And an older generation wants to get upset at a younger generation and blame them for what they inherited. And where did they inherit from? From those older generations. So in a certain degree, the things that an older generation is pissed off about, they can blame themselves for. Then the younger generations are very interesting because they have information that people didn't have at an earlier time, right? It's part of data collection and just our growth as a species. We collect more and more information. And so there's information that, wasn't had in the 70s that people had in the 90s, and that wasn't had in the 90s that people had in the 2010s. But people from those generations make it seem like older generations should have known that shit. They didn't have the information. So how can they know that? How can you expect them to be where you're at when they didn't have that information? It's just goofy. This comes back to people talking shit about things they don't understand. So, I was talking with a buddy at the gym, and he works at a school doing security, and he was talking about how he likes talking to the kids, but sometimes he feels like he's getting dumber. And I said to him, I was like, it might be really a thing, after COVID and then everything else that's been going on and a lot of the statistics that are coming out regarding literacy and education. There is something to be said, but I don't think that it is the kids' fault because they're kids. They literally don't know any better. They haven't had the life experience to learn to know any better, and they haven't had the instruction. They are literally in a different environment than a previous generation. We think of environment typically in terms of the geography and the ecology and the air quality and things like that. Environment is everything that is fucking around you. And so that being said, the example that I gave my buddy at the gym about why kids can't be blamed for some of this shit, not doing more research, not trying to be more well informed, they're shown that it doesn't seem like you have to. Short form content is super fucking popular for a reason, and we're creatures as any other creature, and so we're going to abide by path of least resistance. Path of least resistance means that you're going to go for content that's a little bit shorter to get the information that you want or to be entertained. So sorry, going back to the example I gave my buddy, it was really regarding kind of like our emotional capacities and the ways in which we will extend ourselves to make decisions, and how our environment impacts that. And so nowadays we have the algorithm, right? I like the way we call it, like this one thing. I think there's more than one algorithm out there, and like different companies use different algorithms, but we have the algorithm. And the algorithm is literally designed to give you what you want, because then that keeps you on platforms. Staying on platforms helps make them money, right? Capitalism 101. And so it's you get whatever you want when you want it. Yeah, they're going to throw some monkey wrenches in there, because the brain does need some, like, a little bit of dissonance in order to stay connected. Also, it's kind of a yin and yang and a little bit paradoxical, but you get what you want, and there's plenty of what you want out there. You'll find something. Back in the day, and he's around my age, I think he's a little bit older than me. Back in the day, we used to have the TV guide. So I used to, this is the example I gave him, and I think that some of my listeners also remember the TV guide, but some of you have probably only heard of it and never actually seen it. But it was a guide that told you what was on TV on what channel at what time. That was the best you got. You didn't get to just choose whatever you wanted and like get to follow a show through to the end and have all your desires fulfilled in that way. No, you had to kind of pick and choose and learn to settle. Nowadays we don't learn to settle. We don't learn how to kind of soothe and cope when something doesn't go our way. And that extends into a whole lot of different things. It extends also into how we process information and how we retain information. Because a lot of times, and a lot of people don't realize this, but for people to take in new information, typically it has to cohere to information they already have, which is a very slippery slope. Because if the information you already have is fallacious, then you're not willing to admit information that can help you to remedy that problem, right? So there's a lot of moving parts to all these different things. And so this is why I don't feel that we can really blame kids. Like there's a lot of bitching about Gen Z in the workforce, and it is an issue, but it's something that we have to take a step back and look at where it came from in order to figure out how we're going to remedy and rectify it, instead of just being like, oh well, fuck them. Like, unfortunately we need to get over this fuck them fucking mentality. It's childish, and to me it also shows the limits to which we are willing to engage emotionally with things. So yeah, so much for this being funny. But anyway, give me a like, give me a subscribe, share this please, and be good to you, be good to others. Have a great day. I'll talk to you next time.